I know nobody go see, and it's only the two away. But afraid you go make a calypso on me. Sparrow. The treachery in every poem I write would make me so afraid to walk the streets if I didn't know you all don't read books. All your secrets go in them thinly veiled as fiction. They make fun of you when you miss a reading. Unlike Roger, Sparrow Calypso is not a muse, but an epigraph on my collection of things you told me.
In conversation with Colin Robinson's, I have no name for my father. My father gave me 3 names. One to be used by his family, the second by my mother's. I never used the third. The third name was Passage, Gateway. The third was Entreaty, Contract. The third name is Voice Whispering. You need names for a monogram Daddy carves on your pencils because you lost every pencil you took to school every day for 2 weeks. A name to let your mother's mother tar the distance between her and Daddy. Seal lines sharp as the ruts between rows of cane, even after the blaze. A name for your passport, one for your report card, one to use as an initial before the other when you go to college. A new name from Catherine, who taught you too much about partnering, raised the bar too high for men to climb. A name for the man in tracks who didn't hear your name when you said it the first time over the house music flame. A name for your work friends, a new name for friends at new work, another for your next job, 2 for the school where you teach, 1 for the students, 1 for the staff. Get a name for the phone, 1 for email, 1 for bills, 1 for the boyfriend sites, and a nasty 1 for the nasty sites. 2 for the man you'll love for 6 months. Only 1 can be uttered in public. The other is profane, but must be written holy, a dash in place of the vowel. Get a battery of names for the man you'll love forever. A flight of names, a pride. You waited this long for him to allow time to assemble and invent a name for each season, for rainy days and snow, names for new moon nights, and 1 for Halley's Comet's return, just in case. Names for when you make him mad and make him mad again, and a name when he's mad because he fell for your makeup poem. Save a special name for when he makes you cry. You love him. Of course you'll cry. Don't accept a name from the stranger in an airport who calls you out of your name. Instead, return 12 names in 13 languages until her ears ring and her tongue hangs. Don't take your name in vain. Don't take your name for granted. Don't take your name on a slow boat or on a road paved with good intentions. Take your name to church on Christmas Eve. Bathe it in mud on South Key on Juve morning. Take your name on interplanetary voyages launched from a copse of ewes in Fort Greene Park. Take your name to the river. Wash it in the water. And if no one knows it, Tell them your third name is first in a list as long as time, hot as burning cane, pure as holy water.
I am Amílcar Sanatan, and I am reading the poem Getting Out. I wanted to write you a poem when we were young, my love, my cricket, my fear. You'd return defeated to the bench. We both saw the architecture of chess, confidence imported from our fathers and West Indian captains. The boys in all white, looking for competitive success, glory and acceptance here and there, in their luxury of standing straight, rehearsing near future privileges. Yet you refused to wear your gayness under your shirt. You carried your bat to the stumps as if you were dragging iron weights. The speed the boys bowled, little whispers of death, as the wind conspired with the dirt to give that ball injurious flight. The betrayal of palm trees umpiring that turned away an eye. Could you put a bouncer down? Past the test match, no deep feeling for the faggot in the wicket. You stood at the crease, land of exile, where boys spit and cuss, say what they would do and did with women. My voice crumpled in those dry seasons of cricket. You batting against the balls that had your name. I was afraid that if you played a shot and missed, an untimed flick of the wrist, the boys would get you out.
Flight. We never followed the hummingbird. Tomorrow, I leave to study in Trinidad, so I visit my mother, who never flew on anything but Air Jamaica, taught me to keep my eyes peeled towards paradise. That hummingbird gave her comfort. Grounded, we nestled to watch TVJ's news at her house in Kingston. Though we were born in Irishtown, she wanted me to hope beyond the nauseating smell of pine trees and ice droplets from water pipes. Yet I contemplated hibiscus fences that drew the doctor bird into the icy yard, forcing me to swallow sneezes, hold breath as I watched them still gorging, their coats and wings flickering with the rainbow, showing me its magic amidst green. We watched the queens of New Kingston in the gayest gully on earth, caged birds with ambitions to soar, grounded by clipped wings. A chirp floats in. Watch the chichibud them. God soon fix them. Once, my cousin, disturbed by my daydreams, aimed, locked, shot the hummingbird down. Fearless of the bad luck, I watch its nosedive, nuts designing my nightmares. To cool the herd down, she sang, "Hummingbird, a cunning bird, lick him down, him get up. What a hard bird for dead." Reminders of the blissful hell of paradise I found as I, like hummingbirds, flitted between pool halls and go-go clubs. My daydreams, thrust, burning, rush upwards to escape this island. I say goodnight. It's already late. I can hear the turbines struggle. My mother reminds me, we must own our flights and our dreams.
This is Jacqueline Bishop, and I am very, very honored to be asked to contribute to the celebration of Colin Robinson, his work as a poet, an activist, a very important voice and life for us here in the Caribbean. And my contribution is a poem dedicated to Colin called Taking Down the Monuments. And I think this poem, which speaks to the present moment in that so many monuments are falling, so many monuments are going back into the ocean and to the places where they should have been in the first place. They should never have been up. Speaks to the ways in which Colin Robinson, in his work and in his life, did just that. He took down monuments, and he was such a path breaking voice and an inspiration and a leader. So, Colin, this is for you. It is called Taking Down the Monuments. Sometimes it has to be done in the dead of night, when a man has for too long stood guard over a cowering group of people. All that iron and steel and bronze and corrugated metal, all the things that were needed to keep him upright, to keep him standing long after that man been dead, defeated, and buried. Robert E. Lee and all the others needed to be taken down, taken off their pedestal. If you ask Riva Muma, she would laugh and say, she should rightfully keep her mouth shut, for she nothing but an immigrant in this country. Though, in one way or another, aren't we all immigrants these days? If you ask Riva Muma, long time now those men in iron and steel and corrugated metal should be put in a museum or cemetery or hidden away in a warehouse somewhere. But who listening to a woman looking like she and sounding like sheself anyway? Who care what she have to say? Not even the men looking like sheself, who always quick to tell her story for her, listening to anything Riva Muma have to say. Riva Muma wants to know what the use of having these plaques and more plaques explaining and surrounding these men that nobody going to read anyway. Take a big crane, is what Riva Muma believes. Do like they did do in New Orleans. Take that man. Take all those men, every last one of them, off their high and strutting horses, the foolishness of which horse leg was raised high in battle. As for Columbus, still standing, in his flowing white marbled robes over Columbus circles, Riva Muma have to laugh. The day will come, Riva Muma believes, when more and more people start asking of Columbus, the same Columbus she passes on her way to and from work, to clean these people's houses so she can send money back home to her children in Jamaica. What he doing there standing so tall, Columbus, lording it all over everybody? Whether in fact he did even discover a place people now so call America. That's for you, dear Colin, and all the monuments that you toppled. Jacqueline Bishop.
I want to be many things. Legion. As limitless as fancy. Leave no funereal instructions to coffin my mourners. Permit family, friends, lovers as they please, inventing memory from desire for my respectability, achievement, body parts, heavenworthiness. I am all their dreams, the conceivers, breeders, issue, conspirators. No contest, please.
I'm sitting in Brooklyn, New York, in what is about the most quiet day that we've had in quite a few weeks. Because the city, the state, the nation have been on fire. People have been protesting, rioting, destroying buildings, breaking glass, setting things on fire, protesting many of the videotaped deaths of Black people that we've seen at the hands of police officers in several cities around the country for the last several months, just as the country is beginning to prematurely open up after several months of lockdown due to COVID-19. And I'm thinking about Black Lives Matter and what happens when we see Black people suffering, or in fact sometimes dying, from things that we know are part of the same racist system that the police are a part of, but are dying from things that are not directly associated with the end of a police revolver. I've been on a train many times and have seen sexy, attractive, sometimes unattractive Black men who are passed out, sleeping, unconscious. We don't even know if they're alive, laying on a train car while everybody uncomfortably ignores the obvious. And I wonder, after reading Colin's poem, NYC Citizen, will we ever get to a point where we'll protest and riot and burn shit down when we see Black people suffering and dying prematurely of things that we know are caused by racism and state violence, even if there's no police officer anywhere to be seen at the scene of the crime?
Peace, everyone. My name is Arielle John, and it is an honor to be part of this legacy project that honors the life and work of Colin Robinson. This poem I've written is in response to his own NY Citizen. From his collection, You Have Your Father Had Head. So, arts educators here have stacks of single-use Metro cards for student travel, for outings along the unoiled corridors of metal that make the city. They take in the air, the particles of people that give them life, circulates the 5 boroughs and keeps them breathing. 2 teenage boys, after a Saturday theater class, Jump the turnstile at Flatbush Avenue, Brooklyn College. Take a leap of faith above the three-pronged gate, barricade between moving worlds. But they do not make it. Worrisome to consider that statement. Ambiguous at best, ambiguous as black. Did they, A, not make a clean jump? Rashid trips forward but catches his balance in time. They both laugh wildly while entering the train to head home. Or B, did they get stopped by the West Indian MTA employee who also has sons and asks them to be better, but lets them off the hook this one time with actual resolve? They head home. Or C, did they not get home until 5 p.m. that afternoon after being detained for questioning by onlooking NYPD officer on why Kevin did not have his Metro card to get from class back to Bronxville? Or D, did they just not make it? NYPD officers swoop down, pressing their arms, torsos to the rat-ridden surface of the station floor. Thank goodness for the cushioned soft landing of puffer jackets, else the ribs too. 2 of Rashid's brackets of his braces are broken, but Kevin just does not make it. His lanky stretch of stifled brown fighting back. Reflex response when something outside of your line of sight rushes in attack. Kevin fights back. The officer fights back. In fear of the boy's 17-year-old height genetics, basketball scholar who just does not make it. There is a sound on the last stop that the train makes, like a sharp exhaust of air, signals the final halt. And if you do not prepare your ears for it, it will startle you stunned. There are no trains in the station yet. Kevin's body is now stunned at the sharp noise, a reflex response to metal, making a corridor in the body. Eyes wide in shock, neck turned to watch the tracks, pressed still by the weight of not making it. And so that is exactly what happens. Kevin doesn't make it home to his parents and brother, to my theater class the next Saturday, to his graduation, to his scholarship award ceremony, to basketball games that summer, to his family's cookout on Memorial Day. My white co-teacher says, I'm sorry, but Kevin was wrong. Thank you so much, everyone, for creating this work and for making sure that Colin's vision is received and carried forward. Colin, thank you so much for your contributions in this space. Sending you love, sending you light, sending you healing.
Hey, Colin, it's Pamela Sneed here. So anyway, I loved your book of poetry, and I love seeing some familiar names like Donald Wood, someone we both loved. And I remember after I had done a show, I think in '92, after Donald had died, basically you came up to me after the show, imagine being more afraid of freedom than slavery. And you said, I saw Donald there. And so it was really beautiful because it acknowledged him as an angel watching over us. So, and here's a poem that I wrote where you feature heavily, and it's after we did the tribute to other countries. Never thought it would have ended this way, or begun. 15 years later, survivors sitting in Popeye's Chicken, downtown Brooklyn. Our coleslaw and mashed potato cups imprinted with, "We love chicken." Us sitting quietly for hours, staring into the afternoon out of Popeye's big glass windows. When we first sat down, Colin smoothed his napkin over his lap. I was impressed at how elegant he was for Popeye's. our gold and silver rings glistening as we ate chicken, brought it to our lips. We, I think, were very unlikely customers. But who would have thought decades later we would be sitting together in Popeyes? The sole survivors of a generation gone. Our brothers and sisters gone from AIDS and cancer. We came together accidentally through a show that later funding fell through. We determined bravely, without question, as we always had, both separately and together, to go on. That part of the legacy Donald Woods, Essex Hemphill, Audre Lorde, Asado Saint, Pat Parker, and Marlon Riggs had left us with was to fight, to never walk away without fighting, through whatever circumstance, to keep going. We had, at least Colin and I, the memory of Asado slamming his hand down on the pulpit at Donald's funeral. We know somewhere inside we must always tell the truth. Colin and I are the witnesses, our tribe's council. We buried each of those men. We saw. And over the years, we haven't spoken much, not even on this project. But today, during a rehearsal, during the recitation of a poem, he grabbed my hand, full of trust and innocence, held on, then let go. And for me, even as a poet, that moment meant more than words. Bye. Thank you.
Hey, Colin. I've been rereading You Have Your Father Hard Head, and I couldn't help but think about how so many of the poems are about learning, and specifically about learning how to be a man, about learning about masculinity. I think about Left Hand Drive. I think about Unfinished Work, which I really think is one of your masterpieces. But of course, that's not what I learned from you. And so then I started thinking about what I did learn from you. So this is called Recursive Lessons. This is how you change someone's mind. This is how you change. This is how you organize. This is how you action. Show me yours. I'll show you almost no difference. This is how you press, release. This is how you bring together. And this is how you die. No clothes, no emperor neither. This is my nakedness, my dysfunctional corporeality. This my loneliness, my physical pain, the torque in my intestine, the twist in my mouth. This is how we go die. And umpire your own fet match is a wash your foot and come. All your players organize yourselves into batswoman, bowler, wicket keeper, short, fine leg. Cricket is a long, recursive game. Run, stand, even sit and have tea. And you showing us this is how we go. No crying unless you're in deep gulling. And since every side is for you, you captain both teams, and every ball you hit is a 6. Recursive, meaning, lo we go again. Thanks, Colin.
Hey, Colin and Boca Fest. Brad Wall around here. Colin, you are loved. So I took your poem, Writing is an Arsenal, and I eked a new poem out of it using every line, and I'm calling it She Wrote. I think I am a better warrior for the battlefield inside my belly. Opening my legs would invite the enemy. I kept trying, she wrote. As I breathe sharply and scream out another stanza I had never needed to write, to pound pain back into its vulva. Writing is an arsenal to push things back up in me. So many fertile sores blooming beneath my sentences. A child's broken finger sticking out my tongue, bejeweling my tubes, my abdomen, shriveled up hurts, fetuses like cysts, open wide to suture fresh wounds. Squeezed the midwife's hand, bloodless. Silly me, I did not know that birthing a calloused liver in my larynx was a way to drown them. My spirits and vapors had done the job, and now my insides are a festing cemetery. In hers, a needle now. I discover no matter how much poetry I could miscarry, more blood, more words, more arms would remain cramped inside me, and it would be over. Dead. Push them out in agony, then sew them up tight in verses, a heart-shaped tumor in my brain. Used my needle to restitch myself a hymen.
Hello, Colin. I have been asked to contribute to this this celebration, and I'm really delighted. I was flattered and honoured. So here I go. I've written a poem, and I probably write poems every 10 years, maybe even more than that. I'm not really a poet, but I wanted to. I've written a poem for you, Colin, and it's a talkback, or it's a poem I found inside one of your poems. Your poem was called Left Hand Drive, which I thought was pretty sexy, racy, a turn on. Like a lot of your poems are really, really frank and sexy and like nail it. And which brings back some very fond memories of you reading at Bocas. But anyway, I have responded to you and your frank sexuality and the way you get things down, and I've responded to Left Hand Drive with a poem that I've written for you. It's called Sixth Sense, and here it goes. Remember your sixth sense, Colin. You have it in your pocket. Oh my fucking God. But he must know. The ocean's a spit away. Try hard to relax. Look at his face. You'll hang out again. Oh my fucking God. You realize it's middle age. You realize you are elated and afraid in equal measures. Take me home, you say. You hop off. You are strangely grateful. Take me home. The ocean's a spit away. You never can with your first time. Remember your sixth sense. The moments of clarity that arrive from nowhere. The ocean of talent coursing through you. All these years, it's yours. Look at his face. Oh my fucking God. But he must know. How, Colin? How did you know? Anyway, that's my poem. Sending you much love and celebrating you for all that you are. I'm home in a couple of months, and I'll see you then. Lots of love from Monique. Bye.
Thin filament pyrometry.
Thin filament pyrometry.
For Colin Robinson.
For Colin Robinson.
Wild turkeys strut the yard. Limp in the face of fulfillment, look delicious. And the wind gusts and gusts. Me? I await the woodpecker I love. Of course, I call him and Woody, because Woody has words like hegemony But so, listen. Don't ask me what matters.
No. Don't ask me what matters.
Don't know, maybe.
No.
Just do it over there.
Or don't know.
I'm
Maybe
tired.
just do it over there.
Time's been so untethered.
Time has been so untethered.
I want a hammock in the sun.
I want to
leave the machines.
I want to leave the machines with you, over by you.
Or don't.
Have them.
You could. Don't.
If I'm going to swing
Oh, really?
and swing the trees, let me hammock at my own damn pace. Or don't. I mean, you could, don't.
No, really. If I'm gonna swing and swing the trees, let me hammock at my own damn pace.
If I'm going to swing and swing the trees.
Or don't.
let me
I mean,
hammock
you
at
could,
my
don't.
own damn piece. Or don't. You could, don't.
No, really.
No, really.
My father manhood, straight. Not like my own. Like he was rushing 3 times tables, 2 wife, 3 children, 1 dead, 1 throwaway, plenty woman introducing herself just so whether it's Juve morning or with the man dead coffin. I don't remember he small at all, except he voiced that early morning with the towel when he packed up a van outside. Was 5 I was, and they was pulling. I never know what was happening. Granny trying to hide me, she getting threatened, and as the 2 of them pulling, 1 mammy bawling, 1 plate, 1 sheet, 1 cup, 1 knife. She pick up 1 for he. She keep the towel. It tie up she wrist for a week. I never noticed nothing missing, not even here. But mammy say he didn't want the champagne she give he, half the wares. I don't know why the things was so important, the counting. I would have fight the whole he won. Because as naughty as to me now I 10. I suppose I understand these numbers better now I grow and my prick start bend. Because people be measuring how much of a man I is.
Hi, Colin. As I think about your work, I realize that your poetry is your signature. Each word and line you've written, each picture painted, and each story you've told fills a gap. The rendering of ways of being that have not been commonly, easily, or openly celebrated in what I call not simply writing, but literature. Your literary work, a celebration of friends, family, and lovers, of places and your place in them, has been an offering of visibility, not just to others like you and me, but to the literature of the Caribbean and to any reader anywhere who has a heart. I had the distinct pleasure of meeting you in 2010 when you gave a talk, after which my partner and I went to dinner at a Chinese restaurant with you, Richard Fung, Tim McCaskill, and a few others. Do you remember that night? It was the night of the dreadful police kettling of protesters in the rain on Spadina Avenue right around the corner from the restaurant during the G8 summit. Some time later, I began hearing your name sung out every time I called my home in Trinidad and spoke with my brother Kavir. When Kavir went back to Trinidad after living in Canada for some years, he met you. He met you at the opening of CAISO's office space in Belmont, and he and you became friends. You were a kind of mentor to him. The other day, when I told him I was about to record a video speaking about your poems, he began to tell me about his very fond memories of the place you have in his life. I want to share some of what he said because I think it shed light on the man behind the poetry. Kavir told me that the Colin he knows has always been a gracious man, a helpful man, and encouraging. He's very organized in his politics and in his research, and he looks at everything critically and thoroughly. And yet, he's very humble and soft. He's a very bright man. He's a go-getter. He has an understanding of the larger picture. Kavir remembers Colin wanting a sense of community, not just for the north of Trinidad, but in the south too. And he remembers him organizing a meeting in San Fernando. The part I loved was when Kavir began to laugh, as if remembering something specific, and said, "Colin is pretty goofy, you know. He makes you laugh a lot. He's really mischievous." This all made an impression on me, and it seemed to fit with the author of the poetry. When your work is read all around the world, Colin, when it is studied and written about, your audience must also know these things about you. They must know that while Colin Robinson can write important literary works and do important social justice work, he's immensely loved too by the people who know him because of his humanness and because too of this humanizing goofiness and mischievousness. In fact, I personally think that in order to do great works, this side of the writer, of the artist, the activist, the politician, must be well developed. It is a necessary part of the signature of a confident and wise person who sees the future and knows he has a mission to fulfill and who is diligently on that path, not just for himself, but for everyone. Colin, thank you so much for all your work. Much love, as always.
Some Jamaican language, some Jamaican words in loving praise of and thanks to our dear Trinidadian brother, Colin Robinson, for this beautiful book and for all the work you've done, Colin, all these years. One little Trini boy with this book, yes sir? You have your father hard head. Right. So now, may I say to you, hard head. But wait. Him talk about hard head, eh? But what about him own steel back, spine of steel, and steel stomach? Him true name should have been Steel Boy. Yow, Steel Boy. Steel Brother. Steel Brethren. Oh, but wait. No, man, no. Steel Trini girl. That better there. Trini girl, my brother. How you do? You still have hard head, you know, for true. Yes, master. But you is more steel than steel pan. Yes, may I tell you. Because me read your book, you know. And me read it. And me hear the music and the truth in your word them there. Yes, may I tell you. Truth and music them there. In the book, there. And look here now. And me want know say the Trinidad government people them must did say to themselves, say, after you come back home from American thing, they must did say, but Lord Jesus, but see ya, the damn blasted buller man come home for raise one Ross ruckus with the CAISO this and the CAISO that. Next thing you know, say, him go revolutionize the people them. All a we for some bomber-clad sexual liberation. So them what I say. Watch him there. Watch him, the bulla boy. See if him don't go write poetry and ting about some bulla business. And yes, I saw it did go to Ross, the hard-head boy with him steel back and him steel stomach and even sus Christ, him steel batty. Yes, may I tell you, steel batty. Him did write up a book about some bulla poem them. Poem about the this and the that and the horse dead and the cow fat. Bulla man business. Bulla man business. So look here, no? Him a talk about desire, and him not frighten, you know. Then something that una think say una can't talk, even now. Him a talk it? Yes, him a chat it. So now, me have to ask, what kind of brave boy this? Him is brave to backside. But then, what kind of Trini boy this? May I tell you, him is true Trini from head top to foot bottom. And look here now, when him talk in him poetry now, him a talk to we. When him talk, you see, him a talk about we. When him talk, trust me, him a talk true for we.
My Mother Who Laughs in Her Sleep by Colin Robinson for Anton N. Walking through the New York streets with the mother I insisted embrace my queerness. To my friends, she's the old lady who could rail cook, whom I ought to treat like an old mother should be, not like one of the first to go to university within the Caribbean. Nothing too serious. That will make me think too much like my mother is a peer to a generation of the region's intellectuals and leaders. And she lives still, in that moment 30-something years ago, when she dreamed of a marriage she has never really let go, faced her feelings, the cynical joking, the name-calling. I write in another poem about the pencil puzzles she does. The same stuck rituals. Now in death I am doing my father's just fine. I have it all worked out, therapy for years. I don't cry well. I cry in my dreams, but not in my sleep. It happened again the other night. My mother was in the other room, asleep in the middle of another crossword. I'll have another drink and lie awake, listen to the wheezing half-snore stop suddenly. Over and over the darkness, she chuckles softly. Over and over the darkness chuckles, ice clinks. Why is it my mother who is laughing in her sleep?
Hi, my name is Vladimir Lucian, and I'm very happy to get to pay tribute to you, Colin. I remember Colin specifically. When I first met Colin, I was reading at Bocas Lit Fest as part of the New Talent Showcase. It was one of my first kind of major public readings in Trinidad, and at the very beginning of my literary career, if you want to call it that. And I just remember somebody, an older man or a man older than me in the audience, kind of just smiling and seeming to have, it was a smile of someone who was taking pleasure in a young person coming up. And I just remember that it was Colin's face that I remember like that. And I remember he asked a question during the question session as well, which really helped me with my nerves at that time, which kind of just made everything a lot more comfortable for me. And it's something I've never forgotten. And I don't think I will ever forget. And I will remember it always as part of my journey into literature. So I'm very happy to get to return the favor in this way and to pay tribute to you, Colin. I chose a poem from your book, which really evoked for me Port of Spain on a Morning, which I used to encounter quite a bit between in 2011, 2012. I used to work in Woodbrook, and Port of Spain, I encountered Port of Spain every morning, and this poem is really, really beautifully, perfectly capturing it. So it's called Connell Morning. Early morning in Port of Spain, when the overnight vapors of the distillery begin to lift with the sun's coolness over the wetness of the freshly disinfected pavements beneath the third world hopes and bustle of this beloved makeshift city. A long-haired woman in a line of traffic reads a tabloid over the wheel of her air-conditioned car.
A vagrant has left behind his newspaper bedding, 63 cents, and a black kerchief. Starched faces, the clip of heels bouncing breasts above them, tightly buttoned buttocks, groomed hair, fresh breath are everywhere, like the queues sneaking up to food vendors. I am in town before it opens, to retrieve a lost belonging, years of sensitive data filled not with fear of its disappearance, but a hopefulness that every dawning of this city over the shit and stink of the homeless night inspires me to buy a pen and paper, sit face to face in the open air with a man I do not know, who I am sure grows erect with each glance as traffic builds to its familiar frustration, and a fly alights on my forearm. We make our way through the thoughtless skyscrapers, decaying balconies, government sinecures, the doubles vendor rising at 3 a.m. to cook the chana, make the pepper, pack barra in the styrofoam chest, ride in with his cousin who has an old car, the stream of colored workers emptying from the miles-long procession of red-banded maxis as far as the eye can see. The sun has risen in my face, the hint of bagasse still wafting, and this is home. I rose this morning to the stroke of a Trinidadian, and there is no discounting as I walk through Frederick Street's ramshackle core, still shuttered at 8, past the woman who we passed in Diego Martin in her embroidered yellow linen pantsuit, unlocking her store. That you are what strums hope and meaning into these streets, into the future of this particular morning, in this place, at least as complicated as my fear that at one moment it is breathtaking, the next that it is not enough. Colin, I know you made your mark on this place and that you will live in its air as long as it continues to be. Your mark has been made. You have done Trinidad well. You have done Caribbean literature well. Bless.
This poem is called Boundaries of Desire, for Colin. They do not soften, they crumble, even when you're sure you've built a strong, hard back. Nothing can penetrate these walls, yet with lovers or friends, boundaries cascade, rupture, and burst open. The desire to feel needed, be useful, your charm and wit, loved most of all, ravishing. The desire to engage, to activate, takes up your time, filling up all those cracked spaces. No time for self, for that kind of love, torturous desire. Desire for action, desire for change, desire to create something rebellious, something revolutionary. So no queer or same-sex loving person would have to long for change, have to struggle or hide their desires or be punished because of them. So no more of our people, kinfolk, no matter our differences, would have to feel out of place. You fought for we to all feel in place, to find justice-full spaces, to feel wanted and be loved with no boundaries. Perhaps there would always be a risk, but there would be community, the dream to capture and live out our very desires, so the rest of we can be more at home with our lovers, so we can love up each other and ourselves a little more fully. So maybe we can take those risks, hungry kisses at the front door, be fearless on the outside, speak out about our desires. Or do these boundaries of my own desire make more sense in the dark? Maybe there is an ethics of desire, this waiting and wanting for us all to be well. the desire for this work to not consume us so fully. The boundaries do not dissolve, they explode.
This is after Sums by Colin Robinson. My father manhood straight. In the 3 seconds he was in my life, he paraded me round Princetown Market, telling all he drunk brethrens how dick my big is. I was 4. He had it wrong. But it was easier to leave a well-endowed toddler, I suppose. I suppose he teach me everything he know, I suppose. How quicker oats does make it stand up. How the baby oil does keep your skin smooth. After a 12-year day off, he sent for me and my brother. Asked me if I was a virgin. I say yes, thinking he could be proud of a 16-year-old me waiting, beating books instead. The next day he sent me walking with a woman who get paid to walk with me. I didn't realize until after he gave she the $60 that my charm wasn't as charming as I thought. I feel like he sell me that day too. And all now I still trying to buy back that piece of myself that makes me less of a man. All now I still measuring how much of a man I is. Thank you for your work, Colin. Thanks for showing all of us what it means to be a man. I wish you peace.
Lineage, after Colin Robinson. Some lines long like the road and just so broken. Each space just big enough for a man to fall through. Some lines winding, snake tongue dividing, holding venom in its corners. Some drawn in disorder, but some drawn true, reach through to link the lost. Point path through crossroads, denying devil's cost. Some break through barriers, build bridges to carry us to homes we hadn't known. Some fade though, just as others have grown. Mine reached down to rescue a young directionless dot, tied a knot and pushed forward its future. Mine drew a bent line through time, couldn't come sooner. When I fell through the broken lines, hit the crooked sides that used to deny me, mine stood right by my side to redefine me. I hope to borrow that long line behind me, still use its path to guide me, bend back through time so you could see it climb and see your old line become mine.
For Marvin K. White. I come from a long-lost line of lying, no-good, big-dick niggas just sweet enough to fool somebody into believing the line of the vein, snaking up the long right side, reaching back into my dreams, crouched in the corner, pretending to look for something lost out of the corner of my eye, peeking up into the darkness of the leg of daddy's shorts, imagining down the long, narrow hedge trailing across his chest, to treasure the line of spit my snail's tongue leaves all the way along your long legs. I come from the back of that line, lying sweetly in your air, laying a long salty trail like a sweaty rope skipping generations. My mother's clothesline quickening to vinegar, mustard, pepper.